So today we're talking about pet business insurance, and I am thrilled to welcome two guests who are experts in helping pet businesses protect what they've worked so hard to build. They're the co-owners of Pet Business Insurance, a top-rated independent agency that specializes in creating customized insurance plans just for pet care businesses. Please welcome Chaz Grunder, who brings deep hands-on experience working with pet care entrepreneurs to demystify insurance, and Zach Davis, second-generation insurance agent with a passion for helping pet care businesses owners get coverage that fits their unique risks and budgets. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to have you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the invite.
Let's jump right into it. We all run businesses in this industry and need insurance. What makes our industry different than maybe the run-of-the-mill average business?
It's unique industry, and there's a lot of unique risks just people aren't familiar with. Zach kind of found problems, dropped off his dog at a local dog daycare.
I had gotten a new dog, and my wife and I both work full-time jobs, and so we needed to find a solution for our puppy during the day so he wouldn't tear up our house and my office at the same time, because he came to work with me for a few years every day. But we would take our dog to a local Dogtopia in Southern California. And after a while, I got to talking to the business owner and discuss what I did for work being an insurance agent. There's an opportunity to help business owners with their insurance needs. So I got talking to the business owner, got the opportunity to take a look at her insurance policies. And during the process of the policy review, I discovered that she was missing some very important insurance coverage to literally cover her everyday operations of her business. And those two coverages that were missing were professional liability coverage and animal Bailey's coverage. As you can imagine, it's a dog daycare, Dogtopia franchise, and their main business is taking care of the pets, watching the pets all day, and also they offer grooming service, so there's grooming exposure as well. So during the review and recommendation process, I was preparing these insurance proposals for her, noticed those coverages missing, and prepared policies based on my recommendations, and discovered the cost of the insurance was almost identical to what she was paying based on my recommendations, having those really important insurance coverages that she was missing. And light bulb went off. I went, hey, I think that there's an opportunity here. And I discussed who she was getting her insurance coverage from. And at the time, she was just using a local insurance agent, which there's millions of insurance agents across the nation. That agent didn't specialize in the space. Also, that agent told her that the pets are covered under general liability insurance coverage, which is absolutely incorrect. As the story goes, I presented my insurance recommendations that included those coverages. We were filling that gap of coverage for the pets, basically at the same exact cost. And shortly after, I actually met another Dogtopia business owner at my local chamber of commerce and had the same exact experience.
So I would imagine that a lot of folks find out the hard way that they don't have the right coverage rather than accidentally bumping into an insurance agent like yourself. Something happens, and then it causes them to discover, wow, we were exposed in this, that, or whatever area. Because not all coverage, as you kind of pointed out, is created equal. What are the different, you mentioned a couple of them, but what are like the specifics that address us in this industry more so than maybe a regular business, or I don't know. I'm sure there are specialists for every industry, and that's probably an important thing to do.
There's general coverage that every business owner needs, but then as the industry changes or your business needs change, you should have a specific tailored policy to your particular operations. As a dog daycare owner, you're taking care of pets, and you've got pets in your care, custody, and control every day that you're responsible for. So there's some unique needs in the pet space, those being professional liability coverage and animal Bailey's coverage.
Zach, maybe you can give this like an example of, let's say I didn't have that animal Bailey's coverage. What does that look like as a dog daycare owner? What's like a real world example of that?
I was going to say, can you define what animal Bailey's coverage is?
It's insurance protection for those pets that are in your care, custody, and control. So you've got a pet in your daycare that gets injured or escapes, or two pets get in a fight leading to injuries. It's the insurance protection that's going to pay for the veterinary expenses or replacement of the pet.
And those costs, those veterinary expenses have been going through the roof. Had a recent one where it was a dog broke a leg, $10,000 surgery. We've had a couple where they're in the vet emergency for like 7 days. And, it gets very expensive, and the veterinary bills add up quickly.
Oh, 100%. Would you say that most claims involve people or pets, or what's the mix there in a business like this?
It goes both ways. It's typically not the client, me as the pet owner, getting injured at your facility, like a dog running up and biting me, for example. Where we see the humans getting injured at the job, typically it's going to be an employee getting injured. But as far as the makeup goes, we'll see a 50-50 breakdown probably between employees getting injured and then the pets getting injured as well.
Yeah, employee injuries are, pretty common. Dog bites, obviously, is a common one. We've had ones where dogs run up while they're playing, clip an employee in the back of the leg, and then you got an X-ray and some knee problems and things like that.
Is there anything that a business can do operationally or procedurally that can improve their insurance rates? What do carriers kind of look for in that area? Are there, SOPs that I can have in place as a business that improve my ratings, improve costs, anything like that that can be done?
A lot of insurance agencies, we have the ability to, as agents that represent these carriers, to apply back in credits. So when we go through the process of your business and reviewing your business needs, we take a look at safety procedures you have in place. So we'll go through the list. Hey, do you have standard operating procedures in place? What does that look like? And then that allows us to apply back-end credits that'll reduce the premium. Important things to reduce your risk is, how are you separating people and dogs when they come into your facility? I know your software does a lot of scheduling and things like that. So does the dog daycare owner have scheduling software when a dog comes to check in? The check-in process is easy and seamless, and that dog goes straight back, rather than, hey, I'm going to have 5 dogs in my lobby. We're going to fill out a form. You're going to sit here while you're holding your dog, right? So there's different ways we can apply it, and having those standard operating procedures really help reduce risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Like employee safety and procedures and training the employees. There's a couple of providers in the industry that do a great job at things like this, like Pack Pro and Dog Handlers Academy, that really empower you as a business owner and empower your staff on handling the pets, on the check-in process, preventing injuries, whether it's the employee or even the pet that's in your care. All these things should be talked about with your insurance agent, and what your management experience looks like. And on top of that, there's also loss history that will play into your insurance coverage.
Bad luck comes into play sometimes, right? You just have crap luck and things happen and claims are needed. But maybe the lesson to be learned or taken away from that too is better standard operating procedures. You can avoid situations and avoid making claims in many cases, and that would be the goal, is to not have to give you guys a call so often, and try to avoid claims when possible.
I was going to add, we've seen a lot of claims where dog daycares are doing kind of like an interview process where they've got a potential employee that they're thinking about bringing on staff. They bring that employee to the back areas, they're exposed to the dogs, they get a bite, never even hired that employee, and they get served with a lawsuit right after. So there's a risk of that. Like, do you allow this person that you haven't made the determination that you're going to hire access to all those dogs and put yourself in that kind of like situation? We've seen a lot of those recently where it's like a work comp claim, then it's employment practices liability because you didn't hire me. And so we see those a lot. So kind of like a newer claim that we're seeing for dog daycare owners.
That also brings to mind, we'll often get requests from oftentimes young kids who want to volunteer, right? They just want to come in and volunteer It's like, I don't know if I want that exposure, right?
Yep, I just had that conversation 2 days ago with one of my mobile groomers. Actually, they wanted to hire potentially an intern, and there's a local like grooming school that asked about having an internship, and it's like, do you really want that exposure? You got people who don't necessarily know what they're doing. They're also not an employee of yours that you're going to get the benefit of expanding the business out of. Is the risk really worth it?
So let's say the unforeseeable happens, a claim needs to be made. What are the best, what's your guidance on the next steps that should be taken immediately to maybe follow a process that gets a resolution quickly?
I kind of help with our claims process. Documentation is key. We have like an incident reporting form that we send over to our insureds if an incident does happen. So that way you can document, here's the time, date. Do I have video footage of this incident? Do I have any written signed statements from anybody that witnessed this incident? And then on the claim side, having your documents prepared. Let's say it is an animal injury that you've had to file a claim for, which we always recommend to our insureds, like have slush funds set up for this because the more claims you file, the higher your rates are going to be. So have money set aside for these types of incidents, and then use your insurance when you really need it. But having all your documents in place when you open up the claim, like here's my veterinary bill that I'm going to submit. Here's the incident. Here's when it happened. All that documentation really helps speed up the claims process.
So document, be very clear on what happened. And nothing, I guess, timing of that is very important too, because everything's fresh and readily available immediately after things happen. So definitely keep track of what's going on. Don't track down the documents weeks after the fact.
And we've had that. We've had a couple dog daycare owners that are served with a lawsuit from a small event that they didn't record that happened a year and a half before that, where they have no way to defend themselves because they didn't document anything. They didn't write it down. They don't have any statements. So take that information. If you don't need it, put it in a file. And when that happens, you could bring it back out again. But yeah, I mean, there's a window of time where they can still file a lawsuit should something happen.
And that's why the incident report it's not just, hey, this is a claim or this is going to potentially become a claim. No, that's any incident that happens. We document photos, share if you've got security footage or whatever camera footage of it, save it because you don't know what's going to happen. And we see it where it's an employee injury and it's a year and a half later. So if something happens, regardless of you think it's going to lead to an insurance claim or not, you should be documenting the incident.
I think that's a super great point to make because there are small things that happen in your regular day that you may not even think too much about it today. Maybe it wasn't even an insurance claim today, but you need to document those events because it could come back a year later and you need to have your ducks in a row to be able to prove what happened. And as you pointed out, pictures, security footage, exactly the instance of what actually occurred. So that's a really good point to call out. Along those lines, when you are assessing a new business, what are some of the insurance, is it riders? Am I using the term correctly, that these businesses need to bring on that others don't need?
So every business is, again, unique to what your specific needs are. Some people might be opening a new location, renting a facility in as a 2,000 square foot facility. There's others that bring in investment and they're opening a 10,000 square foot facility and spending $1 million on tenant improvements. So as we're underwriting insurance policy, we really get to know the business owner and know their needs and different things that every dog daycare business owner should have. There's a couple of different policies, but then on each of those policies, there's different insurance coverages or riders or endorsements that should be applied to that insurance policy. So baseline, number one, first line of defense is going to be a general liability insurance policy. In this industry, really, you should have a business owner's package or a BOP, as it's often referred. In layman's terms, it contains general liability coverage and property insurance coverage. And then as we get more specific into things, you need that general liability coverage. You should have a professional liability insurance policy or endorsement rider as well. There should be animal Baileys or animal floater. And professional liability and the animal Baileys coverage are the two policies that are going to pertain to coverage for the pets in your care. You're offering grooming services in your dog daycare, for example. The professional liability coverage is going to be the insurance portion that's going to take care of the pets if they get injured during the groom. Also, if your facility is like administering medications to the pets that are in your care and there's an issue there around that, administering the medication incorrectly, double dosing, these things happen. That's going to fall under the professional liability coverage. If anything happens outside of a professional service to those pets, it's going to fall under the animal Baileys or animal floater portion. So two pets get in a fight, a pet escapes a facility. That's going to be that animal floater coverage. And now also in this business owner's package, you should have property coverage. So property coverage, what does that look like? It covers your tools, equipment, decor, or tenant improvements that you've done for your facility.
So in many states, pets are property. Is that the case in all states?
Laws are changing. Chaz has got some tidbits he can add on this, but in most states, pets are considered property. But there are laws that are changing around that. And
Yeah, we've got an upcoming conference. I think you guys are going to the Oddball Conference in Nashville, and there is a local attorney from Tennessee that that is doing a presentation there. And so her and I have been communicating, and there's some interesting changes in the industry. There's some states where they've changed the animals to where it's not no longer just seen as property. There's this companionship and family member kind of feeling. I think maybe Pennsylvania, or I can't remember what state exactly, has kind of changed that. And the insurance industry hasn't quite kept up or is not there yet. But as these lawsuits come in, right now, you're not just saying, hey, this animal is valued at the replacement price of this animal that I can go get another golden retriever. That's $1,000. Now you have, well, I lost my companion. I lost my therapy animal. This was a family member. And so as these lawsuits start to come up with the changing state laws, that's only going to increase the risk for dog daycares and for people that are providing care for the animals.
What's some of the wildest claims that you guys have seen? Let's not name names, but like just what's going on out there that people may not be aware of?
Well, one of the biggest ones that we've seen price-wise happened to a owner of a grooming salon, actually. And she was doing a meet and greet with a pup. And she knew better. She shouldn't have gotten too close to the pet. This is the first time she hadn't groomed the pet, but she got down. It was a golden retriever. Everybody's, friendly golden retriever, or so she thought. And the golden retriever took her ear off. She bent down to do the meet and greet, meet the pup, got in the dog's face, got a little too close, and the dog got a hold of her ear and took majority of her ear off.
Oh my goodness.
That ended up being a $300,000 reconstructive surgery. The sad thing about it was she was excluded from her workers' compensation insurance coverage. Most owners, not most owners, as a business owner of one of these businesses, you can elect to include yourself in the work comp coverage, or you can elect to exclude yourself. Well, this happened in California, where the workers' compensation coverage is more expensive than most states. So she opted to exclude herself from the coverage. Long story short, she ended up needing to pay out of pocket for that reconstructive surgery because she couldn't go after the pet owner. She was running her business. It happened at work, so she couldn't hold the pet owner liable for that. And her health insurance coverage declined to offer coverage because she was injured on the job. Really sad too, because the cost difference was $1,600 a year to have her included on the workers comp coverage. So that's one of the bigger ticket items that was extremely preventable. And then we've had lots of issues where somebody walks in the door, a client slips and falls and gets injured, or a client gets bit, and those can be tens of thousands of dollars all the way up to a million or 2 million, and take policy limits as well. In terms of injuries around the pets, in the last few years, we've seen costs go up significantly with pets being injured. We had a dog daycare. One of the employees provided the dog's insulin, double dosed the dog's insulin. Luckily, the pet made it, but spent 6 days in the overnight vet care, and it was over a $15,000 incident there. Lots of pet injuries during the grooming process, being nicked by the shears, falling off the grooming table, pets jumping off the grooming table, breaking their legs. As Chaz was kind of alluding to, these changes in the laws are going to be interesting to see how things unfold, because now we've got a lot of people that are running businesses with their pets as well. So far, knock on wood, we haven't had any crazy stories to report about pets that are considered businesses or helping with the businesses. But I could imagine with some of these law changes, you got Doug the pug in your care who generates millions of dollars a year in revenue, and something happens at the dog sitter or the dog daycare to a pet like that.
We've also lost some fingers. We see that a lot in dog daycare. So lost several fingers. Zach, you got a story about the finger. That was an interesting one.
Yeah, and this is totally around the importance of staff training, really, and making sure that your facility does continuing education. You have a strict protocol on employee training. But there was two dogs in a fight in a daycare. They were in the play area, larger dogs. Employee went in to break up the fight, was unsuccessful at first, got in there closer, reached her hand into one of the dog's mouth to pull away. Chris, you're shaking your head because you already know, what are you doing? You shouldn't be putting your hand in the dog's mouth. Well, dog bit down and bit off her finger. And at first, she broke the dogs up and didn't realize what had happened until she turned around and saw her finger on the floor. And reading the claim story, I was like, oh my gosh. I got the claims notification. I heard from the client. Yeah, she broke up the fight, didn't really realize what was happening, adrenaline and everything, and turned around, saw her finger on the floor, reached down. She picks up her finger and then walks out of the play area to seek attention. There's a direct incident right there, but then there's an ongoing incident, which is a disability issue moving forward too. Now it's the finger wasn't attached, fully attached, so now she's got a slight disability moving forward.
Thoughts racing through my mind listening to these stories. It makes me, make sure you have the correct coverage and you're not exposed in these other areas. And B, man, make sure your operational protocols are really up to speed and everybody knows what they should be doing. And the ultimate goal here is to not need insurance.
100%. I mean, it's always funny when somebody tells me, during the sales process, Zach, it was so great. Thank you for getting me set up. I hope I never talk to you again. And I'm like, I do too, but I had a great conversation. I enjoy working with you. I enjoy working with a business owner and everything. So I'd like to talk to you again, but hopefully it's just not around coaching through the claims process or, mitigating. And there's, when we're doing our interview process with setting up a new insurance policy, we can, based on the protocol that the business owner has in place, the SOPs, the training and all that stuff, you can really tell. You get a great picture of how long is this business going to be around and sustainable. A lot of people will jump into the industry. They just think, oh, I'm babysitting dogs all day. And it's so much more complex than that.
So I'm somebody listening to this conversation that we're having today, and I run a pet care business. What is something that I can take away from the conversation here? What should I be doing? What questions should I be asking my agent? In many cases, if I was this person I'm talking about, I'd be calling you guys because you seem like you are specialists in the industry and you know exactly what to look for, how to get out in front of problems before they are problems. But let's say I have a long running relationship with my current insurance agent or whatever it may be, what are the questions I should be asking to ensure that they have me in the right position?
I think number one, highest on the list would be review your workers' compensation coverage limits. We really see frequently in the industry people who have low workers' comp coverage limits. Anything below $1 million in the workers' compensation coverage limit is extremely low. Each state's different though. Like California, the minimum coverage you can get per state statute is $1 million, but that's not the case across the nation. Some states it's 100,000. That would be where I would start. Number one, that seems to be some of the bigger exposure is the employees getting injured on the job. And then number two is going to be around the business owner's package or that property and liability coverage. What does my animal Bailey's coverage look like? Do I have any sublimits that apply to the pets? And what is a sublimit? You could have an animal Bailey's coverage at $100,000 limit, but there could be a sublimit, meaning there's a per pet actual coverage limit. So I run a facility. I've got 50 dogs in my care on a day-to-day basis. My animal Bailey's coverage is a $100,000 limit, but then there's an additional sublimit on that policy, which limits the amount of coverage I have per pet in my care. And a lot of the big carriers out there have sublimits that are topped out at $1,000 per pet. And so, cool, you've got $100,000 total limit, but realistically, it's not 10 dogs or 50 dogs that are getting injured at once. It's one dog or one pet. And you've got $1,000 that apply to that pet plus a $100 deductible. So really, you've got $900 of coverage. That's an area where I would start as well. Understand, hey, what does my animal Bailey's coverage look like? What are my deductibles? Are there sublimits that apply to?
So the sublimit's the hidden restriction that's in place to kind of, yeah, I see what you're saying. So
Yep.
Ask the question, people. Like, find out what your sublimits are. Anything else that they should really raise and be aware of?
In the event something happens, how does my animal Bailey's coverage actually respond? Is it the pet has to die in order for the coverage to apply? Because some carriers have some limitations or exclusions where we're not going to pay this unless the pet actually dies, which is terribly sad because it's almost incentivizing the business owner to not do what they can to rush that pet to an emergency vet. But also, do I have professional liability coverage on this business owner's policy? I see it all the time. The coverage is missed, and you're running a facility, you've got grooming, you're running a professional operation here, and you don't have the professional liability coverage in place. Because again, the general liability coverage does not apply to any of the pets in your care. That applies to the humans that are bringing in the pets. I will come across frequently people in the industry that are offering pickup drop-off services, and they don't have commercial auto coverage. They're running the business using their personal auto insurance protection, or employees are driving their own vehicles to do some of these pickups and drop-offs. And it might be just a rare thing. It might be certain clients that we do this for, elderly, disabled, whatever the situation, right? It might be a rare thing, but there's still the exposure there of your employee gets in the vehicle and runs to the bank, runs to pick up burgers and coffees.
What if you have them run to do an errand? Yeah, that's still the similar situation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether they're doing pickups and drop-offs or they're picking up coffees for everybody, there's the exposure. You should have a commercial auto policy. Number one, if the business owns a vehicle, 100% you need a commercial auto policy. But you can get a rider on your business owner's policy if your business doesn't own any vehicles or have vehicles titled to it, but still uses vehicles in the business. There's coverage called hired and non-owned auto coverage that you can get. And really I'm the business owner and I occasionally use my personal vehicle in the business, or my employees go run an errand. This will cover the liability associated with an accident or an incident that happens when the business doesn't own a vehicle, or they hire or rent a vehicle, for example.
Good call out. So next time your employee says, I'm going to go grab donuts for everybody, let's clarify whether they're on the clock or not.
Yeah, yeah. Do it before you start work, please. But it's a simple fix. I mean, realistically, a lot of it's really, really common. Hey, can you run this? Asking your employee to run this errand. It's a very inexpensive insurance coverage to add to your policy. If the business doesn't own any vehicles, the hired and non-owned auto coverage, we're talking a couple $100 a year. It's not going to break the bank. And then it's extremely helpful when your employee can run an errand, or even yourself as the business owner needs to run some errands using your personal vehicle.
Love the conversation. Really appreciate you guys taking the time talking about the insurance in this industry. I know it's a really niche industry. When you introduce live animals to a situation, it's going to get hairy, to say the least. No pun intended.